731 shifts away from the train to head to a building surrounded by barbed wire, though a fat lot of good that does. The soldiers are sent inside to begin rounding people up and leading them out while someone hides in the trap door in the floor, who then watches them all be loaded into the backs of trucks. The sign mentions Hansen's disease, which is leprosy that's undergone rebranding, but these people don't show signs of that. They look deformed like, well, aliens. The soldiers then line them up in front of a pit and then blast them so they all fall into a mass grave, which is a scene they have yet to use in any recruitment ads. Although, to be fair, I don't think they show you digging a latrine either. We soon pick up where we left off, jumping onto a moving train. Holding your phone, rookie mistake. Always use a very securely held Bluetooth earpiece when jumping from a bridge onto a train. Back in Washington, Scully is incensed.
Our government is operating a secret railroad.
That sounds like it's supposed to be an evil conspiracy, but I would watch the hell out of a show about a secret government railroad. Shadow Train, yeah, someone make that right now. But Scully is so mad that when X tries to leave, she pulls her gun, and for all the good that does. He says that despite being a well-dressed, shadowy figure with a cool name that once kidnapped Tony Shalhoub, he doesn't know everything. But what she needs to know is likely on that chip. Meanwhile, Mulder's made it onto the train, but the car is locked with a quarantine sign. So he goes to find a conductor. The guy explains, though, that despite the enormous power of a man with a hat like that, even he doesn't have physical access to that car, no matter what legal authority Mulder might have to get inside. But he does have a good guess that the doctor who is checking the door on it probably knows something. Shirazama. Mulder goes to question him, but the good doctor's not in his cabin, so Mulder does what he seems to be best at, taking the cases of Japanese men. This is when he pulls out the backup gun from part 1 and gives it to the conductor so that if the doctor comes back, the conductor can then detain him. Don't worry, Mulder takes the bullets out. Even he has the good sense not to give a loaded gun to a person whose most stressful job element is teaching kids how conjunctions work. Back at the lab, the geek-in-chief is looking over the chip some more, and he says that it's mimicking the memory-forming function in the brain, possibly replicating their mental processes. The chip is Japanese, but there's no information on the manufacturer anywhere, just a shipment record to a Dr. Shirazama. The guy's pretty popular. In fact, the assassin is on board taking an interest in him right now. And yeah, if you haven't been able to tell by now, that is none other than Senator Vreenak himself. You've heard of Snakes on a Plane? Well, this is the sequel, Fakes on a Train. Screw you, I stand by that gag. The assassin follows Shirazama into the bathroom. It seems to be his preferred murder spot, and I'm sure we, of course, all have our own. While the good doctor is being While the good doctor is being strangled, Scully is heading to the address in West Virginia, where she finds several running figures in the dark, and follows them into the building since clearly they don't know the rules of flashlight tag. Unlike the soldiers, she spots the crawl space and finds the occupants, although they're not aliens.
Please, don't. Don't hurt us. Please. Don't.
Alright, suddenly I'm feeling like the asshole here. She naturally wants to know what their deal is, so they explain that they're here to be treated for Hansen's disease, and that Shirazama and the rest of the medical staff all left, leaving them to feel like some kind of leper. The literal kind, actually. The spokesman for the group mentions the death squads that they're hiding from, and shows Scully the bodies. People he emphasizes weren't lepers, but had deformities and were kept separated from them. Scully is horrified, and the only thing worse is the knowledge that this isn't the only pit. There's more. And all I can say is this is a feature of West Virginia that John Denver was suspiciously silent about. The death squads return, taking Scully into custody, and the sound of gunshots suggests that the patients are not being given the same gentle treatment. Back on the train, Mulder's found Shirazama's dead body, so he tells the conductor to pass along to the engineer the situation, that they have to keep the train moving to make sure the killer can't escape. But he's not hidden for long, because Mulder finds the quarantine car is now unlocked, And I'm betting the good doctor didn't unlock it and then decide to head off into the bathroom and leave it swinging open. Well, instead of finding the killer, Mulder finds the subject, locked in the back, and looks like one of the victims from the pit, though this one is still alive. Assuming he's not a zombie. Oh man. Zombies, aliens, and ninjas? That was, there's no hope now. If the zombies are on their side, that's it. The only hope is that the uplifted machines are on our side, and history does not say that's likely to happen. The assassin attacks Mulder. I mean, the clue is in the name. But the conductor comes to his rescue, stopping him just before Mulder is actually killed. Except the lack of bullets convinces the conductor that he should probably fall back and close the door to protect himself from the maniac. In the process, though, this gives Mulder the chance he needs to get the assassin dead to rights.
You have no idea what you're dealing with here.
If I had a nickel for every time someone said that to Mulder. The assassin says that he's an NSA agent. The NSA, we're not just looking at your nude selfies anymore. He says there's a bomb on this train, sensitive enough to go off if Mulder fires a gun, or if someone puts a penny on the track. While Mulder wrestles with that info, Scully is brought to the guy in charge, whom we had seen back in Paperclip as a member of the Syndicate. He says that Shirizama was engaged in an inhuman project, and all of this is to clean up after the horrific things that he has done. Scully is outraged at everything she has seen here, and with good reason. The fact this guy was brought here just like the Nazi scientist, and somehow the U.S. government thought that a mad scientist who was told that his insane experiments warranted sparing his life would somehow start doing useful things for mankind instead of developing potato chips that were self-aware. As for Mulder, right now he's not willing to take a chance on the bomb, so he takes the keycard for the door and the code that the assassin used to get in, but the assassin points out there's likely a different code in order to get out, which he didn't ask for because he planned to just keep the door open. Oops. Even if it does work, there is a chance that it could also set off the bomb. But Mulder has had enough of being jerked around and thinks it's just one more lie that they're throwing at him. One more attempt to hide the truth from him. Well, no more! Ah, shit. Not to worry, it's the assassin's phone.
Yes. Yes. Just a moment. It's for you.
Wow, when I signed up for the ultimate roaming plan, I had no idea it'd be this convenient. The Syndicate member, the fan name for him is Well-Fed Man, but that seems a bit mean, even for someone aspiring for world domination. Anyway, he's called and put Scully on the line to explain what's happening in the hopes that Mulder might see reason, that he'll accept that this isn't about aliens, but about tests on human subjects. Subjects like her. The place she was brought was a train car like this, which convinces her that the whole thing with aliens is just a smokescreen used to cover up the abduction of innocent people. Now this contradicts what we saw with Duane Barry, but there are two explanations. One is that he wasn't being abducted by Shirizama, but actual aliens, and Shirizama, or those working with him, just took advantage of Scully's kidnapping. It would be more consistent given the experiments that he was doing with abductees was limited to women, and given Scully's distended stomach at the time, possibly specifically related to female human anatomy. The other possibility is that Shirizama and or his associates had been taking Duane Barry the whole time, but his mind just interpreted it through a filter of aliens.
Mulder, listen to me. You have got to stay out of that train car.
Certainly, but, if I were hypothetically to find myself inside, what would happen? Scully says the bomb is worse than they fear. It won't just kill them, but it will spread hemorrhagic fever all over the place. That's what the quarantine patient has. I can't help but think under the circumstances, maybe a bomb might not have been the best choice for covering your tracks. Scully says they need to get the train to stop at the next station so that a bomb squad can get on board, but Mulder doesn't seem to think that's a good idea. So he plays the phone static game and hangs up. Instead, he has them diverted and then leave the car in a place far away from anyone that might get hurt. Besides him and the assassin, of course. They're probably going to take a few licks when the bomb goes off. Mulder calls up Scully to fill her in, who is not happy with what he's doing and says that if it's true, that they have no reason then to go there. Just let the bomb go off and destroy all the evidence of what Shirizama was doing. But that's only if the cover story is true. If the government wanted what was on here, they'd have tracked it and are scrambling someone to deal with the bomb. But the assassin insists that no one is coming. So Mulder reasons that if they're going to die anyway, then there's nothing wrong with him inflicting a mortal wound on the assassin for not telling him what they're dying for. I mean, he's going to die either way. It's not as if it's going to make any real karmic difference. So yeah, he's going to inflict a mortal wound. A painful one. In the junk. So the assassin explains that in an age of radiological and biological weapons, the most powerful weapon you can develop is a soldier that is immune to those weapons. That's what the patient is, the breakthrough. And Shirizama was bringing it back to Japan rather than letting the US government have it. Well, Scully is desperate, so she leaves a message to try to get a hold of Senator Matheson, then leaves the X in the window in the hopes that Mr. X will turn up. While she waits on that, she watches the code being punched in on the videotape of the alien autopsy video, so that Mulder can finally get the door open. But during the distraction, the assassin conks him over the head. Only... oh, at least it wasn't in the junk. It was Mr. X, who struggles with choosing between Mulder and the quarantine victim, but in the end carries Mulder to safety, and possible hemorrhagic fever. A week later, they're no closer to an answer. Matheson still isn't returning their calls, and the case he gave the conductor has been replaced by a different one with different Japanese journals in it. Though Mulder is really racking up a collection right now. They're in the hands of the cigarette-smoking man. But, I mean, you're not really surprised by that. Surprising would be finding out that that translator back there normally translates dirty manga books for him. These two are MythArc episodes, and so they get a stamp of must-see. I list them also as being recommended. It builds solidly on what the data tape arc had established while incorporating a vital aspect to the plotline for the show's future. Mulder called out Scully on her skepticism in the face of all she had personally experienced, and that was not an invalid criticism. Skepticism isn't, I refuse to accept, but rather, I need to be convinced by demonstrable evidence and clear reason. By giving Scully's experience a completely terrestrial explanation, it means that Scully can accept a government conspiracy, but not the existence of aliens, which can then allow the dynamic to essentially move forward. It's not a reset button, but rather it ensures that Scully does not cease her role as the skeptic without seeming obstinate.
All hail Yoro!